There is a pain that is sharper than any physical wound. It is the sting of a critical comment, the ice of a dismissive look, the silent, deafening rejection of a group. It is the feeling of being judged, and you have, perhaps unconsciously, built your entire life around avoiding it. You have become a master of anticipation. You reread every email. You rehearse every conversation. You scan every room. Not for what you want, but for what they want. You have become a shapeshifter, a people pleaser, a perfectionist, all in a desperate, exhausting effort to build an armor so thick that no criticism can ever pierce it. You believe you are living in a state of defense. You believe your core problem is that you are too sensitive to the fear of their criticism. But what if this is not a problem of fear? What if it is a problem of hunger? What if the sting of their criticism is so painful, not because the criticism is so sharp, but because you are so desperately starving for its opposite? What if you are not afraid of their judgment, but are in fact addicted to their praise? This exploration is a journey to the root of that deep, insatiable hunger. You will come to see that your fear of criticism is a symptom, not the disease. The disease is that you have placed the source of your own self-worth in the hands of others. And you will discover the path to liberation, which is not to build a thicker armor against the world, but to finally learn how to feed yourself. To understand this hunger, you must travel back to its origin. You were not born this way. No child is born looking at their mother's face for validation. A child is a pure, unapologetic expression of its own needs. It cries when it is in pain. It laughs when it is in joy. It is a complete, whole, and unashamed being. Its sense of value is simply a fact, like its own heartbeat. Then you learn. You learn that in your family, in your school, in your world, some parts of you are a source of food, and other parts are a source of famine. When you are quiet, or helpful, or high-achieving, you are given the food of praise, of smiles, of acceptance. When you are angry, or loud, or needy, or strange, you are met with the famine of a frown, of silence, of disapproval, of withdrawal. You become like a small performing animal. You learn very quickly which tricks earn you the food of love and approval. You learn to perform the trick of good student, the trick of no trouble, the trick of the funny one. You become a master performer, and your survival depends on the applause of the audience, your parents, your teachers, your friends. Your identity becomes your performance. This is the birth of the wound. You have learned a dangerous and tragic equation. My value is not inherent. My value is a reward given to me by others. You are now an adult, but that starving, performing child is still running the show. The stage is just bigger. It is your office, your relationship, your social media feed. Every interaction is a new performance. Every conversation is an audition. You are constantly, unconsciously, scanning the faces of others, not to connect with them, but to get a reading. Am I doing okay? Do you like me? Am I safe? You have become a house of mirrors, existing only as a reflection of what you think others want to see. You are so busy becoming what they need you to be, that you have no idea who you are. This is the prison of other people's minds. The state of being hopelessly trapped in the one question that has defined your entire life. What do they think of me? The cost of this addiction is absolute. The first and most obvious is a life of chronic, exhausting anxiety. You can never rest. You are like a house of cards, meticulously built to be beautiful and impressive. But you live in a constant, low-grade terror of the slightest breeze. A single dissenting opinion, a critical email, a person who does not like you, is not just a breeze. It is a hurricane that threatens your entire fragile structure. The effort of holding this house of cards together, of managing the weather of everyone's perceptions, is the source of your burnout. The second, deeper cost is the paralysis of your own life. You are so busy avoiding criticism that you avoid all meaningful risks. You stay in the job you hate because leaving would be irresponsible, and you are afraid of what they would say. You keep your creative work, your writing, your art, your true voice, hidden in a drawer, because to show it to the world would be to expose it to the possibility of judgment. Your perfectionism is not a sign of your high standards. It is a suit of armor that you are polishing, over and over again, believing that if you can just make it flawless, no arrow of criticism can ever get in. But this armor is so heavy that you can no longer move. You cannot run. You cannot create. You cannot live. You have become a prisoner, trapped inside your own flawless image. The final cost is the most tragic. Your life is not your own. You are so busy auditioning for a role in someone else's play, a play you do not even like, that you have completely forgotten to write your own. You have become a hollow, beautifully polished echo, a reflection of what you think the world wants to see, with no sound of your own. So what is the cure? How do you break a lifelong addiction to the approval of others? The answer is not, as you have been told, to just stop caring. This is a form of cynical detachment. It is simply building a taller wall, retreating further from the world. The answer is not to fight the hunger. The answer is to learn to feed yourself. This is the great alchemical shift of the soul. It is the journey of moving the source of your validation from the external world to your own inviolable internal center. This is the work of building a foundation of solid rock, so that you no longer have to live as a house of cards. This is a practical, courageous, and daily process. It happens in 3 stages. First, you must begin the audit of awareness. You cannot heal a pattern you do not see. You must become a detective of your own hunger. For 1 week, you will simply observe without judgment. When you get dressed, are you dressing for yourself or for an imaginary audience? When you are about to post something, are you sharing or are you performing for likes? When you say yes to a request, is it a yes from your soul or a yes from the part of you that is terrified of a no. This is like a scientist in a lab, simply watching a substance. You do not try to change it. You just notice its properties. Ah, there it is, the hunger for praise. There it is, the fear of their disapproval. This simple, compassionate act of seeing the pattern is the first step to dissolving its power. You are bringing the unconscious mechanism into the light. Second, you must begin the dialogue with the inner performer. That starving part of you is not your enemy. It is a wounded child, and it cannot be shamed into healing. It must be loved into healing. You must learn to speak to it with compassion. You are not just a judge. You must become a loving parent to your own inner child. When you feel that desperate pull for someone's approval, you must learn to pause, to turn inward, and to speak to that part of you. You say, I say you. I see that you are scared. I see that you are hungry for praise. You don't have to perform for me. You don't have to do any tricks. I am here. You are already enough. This is the act of reparenting your own soul. Third, and most important, you must begin the practice of internal validation. You must become your own source of praise. You must build your own unbreakable foundation of self-worth, so that the opinions of others, both good and bad, become secondary. You must become a master craftsman. A master craftsman who is building a beautiful, sturdy chair does not, at the end of the day, take it out into the town square and ask the crowd, is this a good chair? Do you like it? Number. The master craftsman knows his own work. He runs his hand over the smooth wood. He tests the sturdiness of the joint. He knows, from his own deep internal standard of excellence, that the chair is good. The praise of the crowd is pleasant, but irrelevant. The criticism of the crowd is also irrelevant. He has his own standard. Your work is to become the master craftsman of your own life. You must define your own code, your own values, your own standard of what it means to be a good person. And then you must hold yourself to that standard, and to that standard alone. When you begin this great work, your entire world will shift. It will be terrifying at first. When you stop performing, the people who were only there for the show will be confused. Some will leave. You must let them. But then, a profound silence will enter your life. It is the silence of the applause having stopped, and the silence of the criticism having faded. It is the silence of your own mind, no longer frantically scanning the audience. And in this silence, you will finally hear your own voice. You will find that you can now do things not for their outcome, but for their own sake. You can create your art, not because it will be praised, but because the act of creating it brings you joy. You can speak your truth, not because it will be agreed with, but because it is true. And the great paradox will occur. The less you need the approval of others, the more you will receive it from the right people. Your authenticity becomes a beacon. It will repel the shallow and the judgmental, and it will attract those who are also on a true path. You will stop having an audience, and you will start having a community. You are no longer starving for their praise, because you have finally and fully learned to feed yourself.